Beatman, I think they getting ready for a beat.
Yo! Solid. I could go on, but I'm not going to. Welcome to the Beatman Show. This is The Beat right here on Facebook. My first attempt at a podcast, and I'm going to tell you what, it won't be my last because I'm so excited to be able to bring this to you. Pensacola, are you ready? Are you ready for what's coming? I'm hoping that The Beat, it will be a launching pad for many, many bands. So they'll be known around Pensacola. And so the overall wage will go up for the average musician in this town. You know that's been my problem ever since I started writing for Scene Pensacola 3 years ago. I'll tell you something. I just want to welcome you to The Beat, where we treat local artists like celebrities and celebrities like they owe us money. Not only that, Pensacola is the only place you come for the beach and you accidentally leave with a favorite new band or possibly a sunburn in the shape of a guitar. That's happened more than once. You think it's 9 o'clock around here most of the time, especially in East Town? Then suddenly every garage turned into a studio. That's Pensacola, Florida for you, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, welcome, welcome to The Beat. Let me give you an idea of what we're going to do today. I'm going to give you a little synopsis of what's happening today. First thing I'm going to talk about is how I got the nickname The Beat. Beatman, I'm sorry, The Beat. This is The Beat, and I'm The Beatman. And this is live, so whatever happens, happens. That's just the way it works. We're doing our best here, ad-libbing. But anyway, we got Jack Grimley coming on, doing an interview with me, right here live in the studios from KTB Production. That's my new company, Keep the Beat. And it's going to be producing a lot of stuff, hopefully, for musicians and bands and stuff all over the Gulf Coast and in Pensacola. But we got Jack Grimley coming on from his new project, Jack Grimley's Joker's Wild. And we also have in his band, Mr. Kevin Langan. He's going to come in, and after a brief interview, Kevin and I are going to have a drum off. And we're going to go back and forth and see how that goes. We practiced a little bit already, and I tell you what, if it's half as fun as what we've done so far, I think you'll enjoy it quite a bit. So, how did I get the name Beatman? It was about 1995, 96, I believe. I was living in Westland, Michigan, and there was a drum shop in Garden City, Michigan, which is the neighboring town right next door. And I got to know the owner of the store. I bought one of my first drum sets over there, and got to know all the guys there and so forth, and got invited to a master class. Now, I was nowhere master class, if you know what I mean, as far as my drumming ability and my technical playing and so forth, but I was invited nonetheless. So I go, and there's only 20 players in there, and they all paid a big fee to be there because they had a special guest coming in that day, a man that in my day was very well known and played with the Doc Severinsen Orchestra for Johnny Carson's Tonight Show, Mr. Ed Shaughnessy. He played for several years, and God bless Ed's sweet soul, he's no longer here anymore, but he left a story behind I'm going to tell you right now. So I go into this place, and I sit down in a chair, and I'm in the back row, all the way to the back, on the end, and Ed goes through some of his techniques and teaching style and so forth, plays a couple of cool riffs on the kit and so forth, and everybody's enamored. We're all glued looking at him and seeing what's going on with Ed because he's just going crazy. But he talks about theory, he talked about timing, he talked about the beat, you know what I mean? And it was highly educational and very entertaining. Well, it came towards the end of his presentation. He said, "Gentlemen, this is where the rubber meets the road." And he said, "What I'm going to have you do, gentlemen, is each one of you are going to come up here and give me 1 minute of your playing ability for me and everybody else to see. And then you can sit back down again. This is not a competition," he says. "It's just merely to give you an opportunity to express yourself and see if you learned anything from me today." So everybody starts going up. And I'm thinking I'm going to be called somewhere in the middle someplace. No, of course not. Monster drummer after monster drummer steps up. And I mean, I felt about this big because each drummer that got up there seemed like they were better than the next one. One played like Neil Peart. Another one played like John Bonham. You know, I mean, they were crazy technical drummers that were all over the kit and making some crazy stuff. And I'm sitting in the back there going, oh my goodness, how am I going to compete with this? I tell you what, I was flabbergasted. I didn't know what to do. I was nervous, I'll tell you what. So one after one, each drummer came up and showed Ed what he had to do for 1 minute. And he stopped him at 1 minute. Some of them didn't want to stop at 1 minute, but he stopped them. And guess who ended up being the last one because I was in the back? Me. So I get up there and I'm walking up there. I'm telling you what, I'm sweating bullets. And I got to sit down at Ed Shaughnessy's kit to play this, right? I'm going, oh my goodness, I can't believe this. So not only was it the hero envy and the celebrity enthusiasm for having someone like that in a drum shop where I could actually be taught, it was just overwhelming. So I go sit down behind the kit. I looked at everybody around the room, looked over at Ed. And all I did was a basic riff, but I kept it in time. It was something like... And I just kept going for 1 minute. And I knew when a minute was up because I stopped myself. Don't you know the stillness in the room cut like a knife? It was stone cold dead quiet in that room. And I'm scared to death. I'm looking at everybody in the audience, and these guys, these young fellows especially, they're all going, you know, who is this guy? I mean, these guys are all over the kit doing all kinds of crazy technical stuff. Here's this guy. I go up there and I just play a simple riff, you know. So I was just about ready to get up off the chair and go and resume my seat back in my place. And then all of a sudden, Ed Shaughnessy got up off of his chair for the first time during the master class and proceeded to walk towards his kit and towards me. I was scared to death. When he approached the kit and got close enough, I got up to throw him and walked around to the side of the kit, and he was already sticking his hand out to shake my hand. So I greeted him with a firm, manly handshake, and he said these words, and they've stuck ever since. He said, let me tell you something. You got a great beat, man. And that was history because for the rest of the master class, everybody in the class was calling me Beatman. Now, I don't know if it was sarcasm or if it was envy. I had no idea, and I don't care. All I know is I was the only one picked out of the group, and from that day till this, I've been known as the Beatman. Did you enjoy it? I hope so. I'm going to move on to the next segment. I'm going to have a drink of something first. Woo. I like that. All right. Something I need to discuss because it's been in the news a lot lately and it's music related, so I figured I had to talk about it. But everybody by now must know about the big Bad Bunny controversy with the NFL halftime show and so forth, and the alternate show featuring Kid Rock and a bevy of other artists who had quite a bit of music and was a good show. I gave it its fair shot in that. I watched both halftime shows, okay? But I was a little taken aback by Bad Bunny's performance because though I like Latin rhythms, you know, I like reggaeton, you know, and cumbia and a lot of the traditional Latin rhythms and stuff. I like the reggaeton beat of a lot of stuff he was going. And when everybody came out with the frame drums, the round frame drums and stuff playing, oh my goodness, that was fantastic. But you know what? I couldn't understand a single word that the man said. And I was curious about that. So I was on Facebook, and I ended up in a controversial conversation with several people on my thread about Bad Bunny. And most of them were people that were supporting Bad Bunny, telling him telling me that they thought the show was fantastic and that it was a multicultural thing. I don't care about the multicultural stuff. I don't care about how political it's gotten since then. That doesn't mean anything to me. I'm talking about purely from a musical point of view, and especially wherein is concerned the lyrics. And this is what got me in trouble. I translated the lyrics on Google Translate and on YouTube, and what I found was appalling. And I had intended, I really did, to read those lyrics aloud for you right now, word for word, because many of the major broadcasters and podcasters on YouTube wouldn't do it. They were embarrassed. They didn't want to say those words because they're nasty and filthy. They really are. Now, okay, before you go jumping on the Beatman, about Kid Rock's performance, and what about his first number when he talked about sleeping with underage girls and everything else, you missed the entire point. He was showing a dichotomy and a division and a transformation in his life. He came out saying, "My name is Kid Rock," right? Remember that? You know, and he went right into that tune, right? And then later in the show, he came back and he was introduced with his real name. It wasn't Kid Rock anymore. And then he performed a wonderful song that was just so touching to so many people. He was illustrating the difference between his old life and his conversion to Christianity and how he was now. Okay, so that doesn't have anything to do with Bad Bunny's lyrics. I'm sorry. Sapphira, especially that song, has already gone around the world. I don't need to read the lyrics because they're everywhere now. Just exactly the way I said. Okay, and I was vilified. I was called a racist and every dirty thing you can possibly imagine. Okay. And I don't mean to say I told you so, but I told you so. From the beginning, I knew what the lyrics said. I wasn't going to repeat it, okay? So my whole point of going over this right now is I want your opinion. Please, if you have any comments on this, put them down in the comments below and let me know how you feel about Bad Bunny, his performance, his status. I'm not going to go into all the stuff, like I said, about the political stuff and everything else. I simply want your opinion as to what you thought about the performance. Was it a performance fitting and right for a worldwide audience, let alone a national audience, for an American pastime that we've been celebrating for now 60 seasons? You know what I mean? It seems like in the last couple of years, things have really gone downhill. I'm sorry, that's just the Beatman's opinion, but I would sure like to see some music that everybody can understand and get into and be a part of. So that's my opinion on that, and we're going to leave it at that. All right, before we get on with our interview with Jack Grimley, I have a couple of shows that are coming up. I want to let you know, if you're out and about tonight, especially after you watch this show, you may be going downtown for the lighted Mardi Gras parade. That's tonight, as a matter of fact, and I wouldn't blame you. D-Lady and I were thinking about doing that ourselves, but after that and later on, if you want to get into some real good live entertainment, Brandon Giles is playing Moonshine Saloon tonight, and he's playing all over the place. If you haven't had a chance to check his show out on Tuesday afternoons at Johnny B's Front Porch, you really need to go. It's wild. That place was packed when I was there and I did the intro for him. I couldn't believe it. Who else is playing? Never Ending's playing tonight, I guess, and at 8:10, Entertainment Center in Panama City Beach. So if you're out that way, go out and check a show with Shelly Clutch and her band. Beach Dogs are playing tonight at Patty's. This was a last minute gig for them, evidently. I'm not sure who canceled or what happened, but they're going to be there, and I'm sure it's going to be a good show. And on the 15th of this month, don't miss the show at the Sandshaker because Vinyl Revival is going to be there. And it's their biggest show of the year. Last year when they had this show after the parade was over, it not only packed the house, it spilled way out into the back, and it was just an enormous crowd. It was awe-inspiring. So I'm going to see if I can try to catch that show. And then Jack Brimley's Joker's Wild. He has a show on the 19th and the 20th. The 20th he's playing at Perdido Key Sports Bar. That's Judy Davis' spot. Great place, great food, great people, and excellent service. You don't want to miss that show. I'm probably going to come out to that show as well because I want to see Jack play out there. What else we got? Oh, hey, if you're around Saturday out Goat Lips, I'm sitting in with Jerry LaBerge and the Tropics Band, and I'm going to be playing from 7:30 to 10:30 for Valentine's Day at Goat Lips. So if you get a chance and that's close to your house, come out and see me. And who else we got? Harrison Avenue also plays a blues jam this coming Monday at Seville Quarter, and it's going to be their Mardi Gras edition. So that's the wrap up for that right now. I don't have any more for you, but in future episodes I'll have more events and bands playing around town. At this time, what I want to do is I want to introduce someone. He's not only a good friend of mine, but I recently saw him with his new musical concern at Patty O'Leary's. Jack Grimley of Jack Grimley's Joker's Wild. He's here in my studio today, and he's decided to come and grant me an interview. So we're going to talk a little bit. Jack, come on in. Say hi to everybody.
Good evening, Facebook land. Thank you, Rich, for having me. Always an honor and a pleasure. I love your dedication to Pensacola music, supporting your scene, as you say it. One quick addendum to the list of shows. So not only is Jack Grimley's Joker's Wild playing Friday the 20th at the Perdido Key Sports Bar, but the very next day, Saturday the 21st, we're at Goat Lips, 7:30 to 10:30.
Thank you, Jack. I appreciate that.
No problem, brother.
I always appreciate it when a musician corrects a Beatman on his show, because I don't want to miss any of them. And I don't want you to either, so. Okay, Jack. A couple of things I had in my mind I want to discuss with you. First of all, you can just take a couple of minutes and give me a historical synopsis of how you became a musician, when you got started, what was your first instrument, and that kind of thing.
Sure, absolutely. So I got into music through my parents' extensive collection of CDs. I'm part of the CD generation, the tail end of it. But growing up, my parents had a great CD collection of classic rock and classical music, so all around the house, you know, I heard all the great songs of the 60s and the 70s, you know, the Beatles, Elton John, the Eagles, Fleetwood Mac, all that stuff. And, you know, that's just the music that I always loved, and the stuff that I still play today. You know, it's funny, most people, when they become teenagers, that's when they stop listening to their parents' music and find their own music. By virtue of my age, all the stuff that I was supposed to be listening to in the late 2000s, early 2010s, you know, people like Taylor Swift and Katy Perry and Black Eyed Peas. Personally, you know, I just couldn't jive with it. I said, hey, this older stuff is way better, so that's what I've done. My dad is an avid musician. He played guitar, he played keyboard, so growing up, we used to jam together in the same way that many fathers and sons, you know, play ball in the yard. We would play music upstairs.
Oh, that's fantastic. What a pastime. That's fantastic.
Yeah. So that's how I got into it. I took piano lessons when I was 8 years old, but I quit shortly thereafter because I was 8 years old. I was young, I was stupid. I didn't want to play all the classical shit. I wanted to play Elton John and Billy Joel and all the stuff I heard on the radio. And, you know, I've always been surrounded by music, been singing for as long as I can remember. But I really didn't start getting serious about music until I was about 12 or 13. Largely self-taught on piano and guitar. I attended...
Self-taught?
Largely self-taught.
Oh, wow.
Largely self-taught, yeah.
Theory as well?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Then later on I realized I had perfect pitch, you know, so that really helps out with learning songs because, you know, I know what the note sounds like. I can hear the chord. I can see where it's being played. So
right.
That's a real godsend. But as far as my career goes, it really started at Pensacola Catholic High School. While I was there, I was the guitar player in music ministry. And
wow.
So music ministry, you know, we would play the music at the school-wide mass, which would happen about once a month, and any school-wide assemblies. And so I kind of garnered a reputation as the resident rock star. I was also the manager of the baseball team.
Oh my goodness!
And so I would bring my guitar on away trips. I would mostly play for the coaches because, you know, the kids, a lot of them would have their headphones on, but some of them appreciated it. But anyway, you know, I really started my career in 2017 with Jack Grimley Music, and I got my start, you know, kind of humbly.
Wait, back up. 2017 is when you started Jack Grimley Music?
Correct. That's when
Okay.
I began my career as a professional musician,
I
shortly
got
after
you.
I graduated high school.
Okay.
I played a few gigs before that, so I guess you could say I've been playing 10 years this year, but I didn't really officially launch my career till 2017. I started out, playing private parties for my friends' parents, and it just so happened that my friends' parents were pretty well-connected people in the city, and so it was through those connections that I got into Seville, places like that. But the man who really opened the door for me, and I want to give him credit because I've always made it a point to thank him over the years, is a fellow drummer by the name of Ron Bird. Ron Bird, he was the drummer in a group called Honey Gun many years ago. They had a performance on Studio Amped. When I was a freshman at Pensacola State College, I used to go over to his house every Wednesday and jam with some friends of his. And it was
Wow.
Oh yeah, and it gets better. And so it was through that jam group that I met the guitar player in that group. His name was Mike Neary. Mike Neary introduced me to Carter Granat. Carter Granat was the leader of Memory Lane. Fast forward to September 2019, we get a new guitar player in Memory Lane, Glenn Vignolo. Then it was, of course, the Glenn Vignolo that I joined Civilized Natives in October of 2020. I was a member of that group from October 2020 till January of 2025. My last show with them was January 25th at Goat Lips. It was a great way to go out. I learned a lot from those guys. I wouldn't regret being in that group for anything, but I had to follow my heart. It was nothing personal. It was just business. I learned a lot, but
That, you know what? That's the way it goes many times, because we as artists and musicians, after we've been with the group for a while, it's not so much that it gets dry as it does. You get to a point where, and you, correct me if I'm wrong, you get to a point where you're just longing for something more, something to the next level, something a step up or whatever, an ability and a showcase to be able to show the public more of your talent and abilities than you've been able to under those circumstances. You think that's a good assessment?
Precisely. That was precisely it. The way I see it is funny. I've had over a year to reflect on it. Looking back on it, the way I see my time in Civilized Natives, it was like receiving a bachelor's degree in rock and roll performance from Civilized Native School of Rock. It was an education for sure, but at the end of the day, I was having some stuff going on in my personal life. I had a very stressful day job. I was burning out there, and so for both business reasons and mental health reasons, I needed to move on and follow my heart. And
I want to stop you right there because he just mentioned something that I wanted him to expound on, his day job. Tell everybody out there what you do during the day, 5 days a week, for half a year at least, for a living. What do you do?
Well, without going into too much details, out of confidentiality, I am a high school history teacher.
Okay. That's short, sweet, neat.
Yep. I'm a high school history teacher in this district, and one of the toughest high schools in the district. I love what I do. I love my students. I love the people I work with, but it is very stressful. And so music, at the end of the day, going back to kind of why I left, music is what I look forward to at the end of the week. And music, in my mind, it should never feel like a job. And it was really starting to feel like a job, and so I needed to move on. And just to kind of briefly summarize my musical journey, after I left the Natives, I embarked upon the hired gun life. I was briefly the interim pianist at Brownsville Assembly of God. I did that for about 5 months. Then afterwards, around that time, February, Joker's Wild came out. It's funny, we never really planned to start a trio. It all started with a text message from Kevin Langan, who you're going to have in your studio very shortly. He just texted Justin DeAngelis and me one day and said, "Hey, you want to come over, have some drinks, play some pool, and jam a little bit?" That's what we did. We played some pool, we had some drinks, we jammed.
And the rest is history.
And the rest is history.
Well, man, that's fantastic. Listen, I want to ask you another question. Let's talk about musicians in general, okay? You're obviously a seasoned musician, and Civilized Natives was one of the first reviews I did for Scene Pensacola. And the reason I did that was because for a band that size, it was one of the tightest musical outfits that I'd ever experienced. And you guys were playing some stuff that nobody was playing. I mean, Paradise by the Dashboard Lights, Glenn and Teresa, they just blew that away. And your riffs and licks on the keyboards and guitars through many of their songs added a specific spice, so to speak, to that music that made it full and complete. So let me ask you a question. What is the single most important thing that you could tell young musicians coming up trying to showcase their talent, maybe get with a group or whatever? What would you have to say to them after a good 5-year stretch here with a whole lot of music playing? So what would you say?
Without a shadow of a doubt, be reliable. Be reliable, be professional, show up on time to rehearsal, to the gig, do your homework, all right? Don't show up to the rehearsal not learning your part. Rehearsal is not an avenue to learn your part. You should have already learned your part before you got to rehearsal. Rehearsal is just an opportunity to play your part with everybody else. That's something I learned very early on, playing with older musicians.
Playing with older musicians, which I am one, and I can definitely,
right.
I can feel Jack on this one here.
And I don't mean that as a pejorative.
No.
I mean it in the sense that, look, if you're playing with older guys, they're more professional. It's like, hey, respect your time. There's less of a less tolerance for dumbassery.
Yeah, good. That's a good way to put that. I would put it that way too. I mean, one of the most frustrating things to me as a musician, especially when I get a group of musicians together in my studio or for rehearsal, is whenever we're trying to discuss the music and talk about it, you got somebody noodling around someplace. Either a guitar player, mostly guitar players. I have to agree with Jack. It's mostly guitar players. They just cannot keep their fingers off their instrument. I don't know why. And I don't care what the age they are. I played with them at 73 years old, and I played with musicians, younger than Jack, and it's the same thing. They get enamored with their instrument. Be that as it may, that's part of the color of growing up as a musician and earning your stripes and paying your dues. What do you think is the big stumbling block right now that a lot of musicians face?
I think one of the biggest stumbling blocks, having been in a very successful band for several years, was making sure that everybody still has a common vision. Because the bottom line is, a band is like a business, and just like any business, you have to have buy-in from your employees. You've got to have buy-in from your bandmates, all right? Because if you don't have the same vision, there's not effective communication. If you look back at the history of music, 95% of all band breakups have been related to business. Differences in musical direction, bad communication, personality, egos, all that. So really, I think having a similar vision is that, but also more importantly, based on my personal experience, probably an even bigger stumbling block is putting in the work to go to the next level. Whatever that may be, I would probably emphasize that. Putting in the work to go to the next level. How do you effectively make the transition from weekend warrior, local bar type guy to the next level, weddings, corporate, special events? Because I've been in outfits where we fully had the potential to make that transition. But for a variety of reasons, people weren't willing to put in the work. There were other aspects involved. This wasn't just Civilized Native. This is other projects.
Absolutely.
So I'm not putting anybody on blast.
No, you're not.
I'm just saying, this is from personal experience. Almost 10 years being a musician in town. But also kind of circling back to your first question, one of the most important things is you got to be reliable. You got to serve the song, not yourself. I mean, we're fans of the 60s, the 70s, and
right.
the 80s. And as we know, a lot of that music was made by session players. You look at all the Steely Dan records. You look at the guys like, Larry Carlton, Lee Ritenour, Bernard Purdie, Steve Lukather. The reason why those same 15, 20 guys were called to play on all those records Because they were reliable. They could be counted on to play the right part at the right time, serve the song. And that's what being a musician is all about.
And I want to add to that. Thank you, Jack. That's a very, very, very poignant statement and a really good point. On top of that, my biggest problem that I've seen, now understand, I'm 67 years old. I've been around, been playing drums for over 50 years. But one thing I've noticed along the way is that we have so much talent, so many talented musicians that transcend reality sometimes. I see some of these people play, and some of these bands, they're so tight, and it seems like they read each other, almost like they're reaching into each other's soul. They know exactly what the next move is going to be. And they're lousy business people. Mm-hmm. You wonder why bands fail? Because whoever's leading the band, whoever's managing the band is not doing a really good job to manage the band, get them the exposure that they need. Nowadays, as you can, I'm sure you'll agree, it takes more than just going out to bars and shaking hands and just saying, hey, I got a band, they want to give us a shot. You know what I mean?
How far?
You have to market yourself. You have to use the power of the internet and multiple platforms, like I'm doing right now. I mean, and that's the way you build your audience, and that's the way you build a following, okay? Mm-hmm. When you have a following, another thing too, email lists. Collect email addresses. I'm going to tell you right now, that will be a nugget of gold for everybody out there. Make a list. Have people write down their email addresses, because you can shotgun your gigs. If you have some new merch that comes out, you can let them know about it, direct them to your website. My website will be up pretty soon. It's going to be heybeatman.com, and you'll see what I'm talking about. There'll be some marketing on my website for sure. But this is one of the things that I have a pet peeve about as far as musicians around the Gulf Coast and Pensacola. But lastly, Jack, tell me, what do you see for the future here in Pensacola and music scene?
Well, as far as what I see for the future, this is kind of more of what I hope to see for the future.
Okay, then.
And I think it's more of what we both hope to see for the future. What I hope to see for the future is that more musicians in this town will become good businessmen. They will start to advocate for themselves, be better business people, because part of the reason why the Pensacola music scene is the way that it is and has been for the past 20, 25 years is because ever since DJs entered the market in the late 90s and were willing to play for next to nothing, that set a new market precedent where there are less places to play and the venue owners are willing to pay less. And so one of the things that we are in resounding agreement on.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, we opened up Pandora's box, but you know what? It needs to be open. It needs to be open.
Yes, that's what this show is for.
It is.
To talk about stuff just like this, folks.
Right, because here's the thing. One of the beautiful things about this podcast that you try to get off the ground is, this is a conversation that musicians and fans have had for almost 30 years, but there has never been a proper platform for it.
Correct.
And so what I would appeal, all self-respecting musicians who want to really take it to the next level, you need to start advocating for yourselves. We as a musician community need to advocate for ourselves, because here's the deal. If we don't advocate for ourselves, we're going to continue to be in this situation. Because look, as far as the business owners, the club owners, I'm fortunate to know a lot of great club owners in this town.
Yep.
There are good ones. And having said that, I think a real problem is, it seems as if musicians have been treated as almost disposable, in a way.
Like human jukeboxes sometimes.
Right. And so right. Yeah, to quote from that show Dance Moms, it's almost like everybody's replaceable. The way I see it is, if club owners treated their distributors, their employees, any other person in the chain like they treated musicians, they wouldn't have it. And what I'm really advocating for, and I'll wrap it up with this. Musicians are professionals. We offer a valuable service just as any other independent contractor, and we need to be paid and treated accordingly. Because not only are we independent contractors, but many of us musicians, we are also customers. We have patronized these bars for years. Even when we're not playing, we are friends
That's right.
with the club owners. So we're saying this as a patron, as a friend who's willing to help you grow your business by continuing to provide a service. Because if you didn't, part of the reason why you hire live music in the first place is put butts in seats, bring money in the cash register, bring people in the door. We are helping you.
Exactly.
We've helped you for all these years. Now it is time to help us, because there's absolutely no reason why, given all of the talent in this city, given how much the city of Pensacola advertises, their arts, their cultural aspect, there's no reason why we should have to go out of county to NaVarre or Gulf Shores or Perdido or Fort Walton to make decent money as a musician. I'm not saying that as a disrespect to any of those places,
of course
but
not.
I'm just saying, we're Pensacola, Florida. We're the biggest city between Mobile and Panama City. We should,
I hear you, Jack. I hear you 100%. I want to add a caveat to that. And I do so appreciate Jack's passion, because I share that passion and with so many other musicians here in this town. But one thing you've got to understand, if you're in a band, if you're a solo artist or in a duet or a trio, you've got to understand that you have to have a relationship with the venue owner. Okay?
Yes.
This is not you're so great and that you're going to add so much value to the house that you can just command whatever you want. No, you have to make a partnership with the venue owner, and by doing that, you answer to the communication that Jack's talking about. You'll be able to negotiate a much better deal than what you've been getting. And let me say this quickly before I let Jack go. The people, the bands, and so forth that are so desperate to play, they'll play any stage for nothing or for tips, or God forbid, I hate saying this, Jack, have to pay to play. There's nothing worse for a musician, especially if they're really good and talented, than having to pay money out of their pocket they already don't have, just for the opportunity to get some exposure on stage.
Right.
You don't realize the damage you do to the entire music scene by doing it. You bring the wage down. So, and we'll be talking more about that on subsequent shows, but you'll find out that's one of my pet peeves. All right, Jack Grimley, thank you so much for being on the beat, sir. Your input was not only valuable, it was welcome, and I really appreciate you being on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure that you catch Jack Grimley's Joker's Wild all around town, and especially on the 20th and the 21st?
Correct.
Correct. On the 20th out at Perdido Key Sports Bar. You'll probably catch me out there covering the show as well. So, Jack Grimley, everybody. Thank you again, Jack.
Richard, thank you once again.
All right.
God bless y'all.
All right, take care. A few words in between segments. Coming up, the drum off between myself and Kevin Laney. But first, I want to just sort of dovetail on what we just talked about, okay? Please don't take this as an affront or an assault against anybody. Venue owners, we're not slamming you. We want to have a relationship with you. We want to get along with you. We want to help promote your business so you can help promote us as well, so everybody makes money, okay? And it doesn't help if only one does and the other one is starving. So if you find a good band around town, if you want a recommendation from one, reach out and talk to the Beatman. I know tons of bands. I would be happy to give you a recommendation as to who I think would be great for your venue, okay? So keep that in mind. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're coming down to the last segment of the show. Excuse me. I get dry, I'm going to say. Thanks for being here. If you're still here after all this time and after being on all this time, thank you so much. I appreciate that enormously. I need to put a plug in here real quick. I'm still don't have enough YouTube subscribers yet. I only need a handful, and then I can do this live on YouTube, which is where I'm heading. This is where I want to go. Okay, so if you can go to Beatman, Rich NaVarre on YouTube, and just hit that button. I hate saying this stuff because it's annoying when I watch some of these YouTubers and they're always honking for money and subscriptions and the likes and everything else. But I understand it now. The only way we can progress and reach a wider audience is if you are participating. So I appreciate that. And now, the last segment for today. I want to introduce a man to you. He's playing for Jack Grimley's Joker's Wild right now. He also played for Civilized Natives for many, many, many years. He is a drummer and a singer. Yes, a singing drummer, just like the Beatman. Only, no, not like the Beatman, because I think he's way better than me. I've watched this man in several bands, and I've studied his technique, his drumming technique. And one thing I like about Kevin Langdon is that he stays in the pocket. He keeps the music going, and he plays fills and riffs while he's singing lead lyrics. That's not easy to do, ladies and gentlemen. It's hard enough to do when you're playing guitar and singing, but you try working all four limbs and singing at the same time. And this man does it exquisitely. So I'm going to have him come right in and sit down behind the guest kit, ask him a few questions, and then we're going to go at it until the end of the show. So here we go. Kevin, come on in and join me, man. It's Kevin Langdon. Langdon, I keep pronouncing his name wrong. Oh, this is the part about live TV we can't get around. So, welcome,
Yes, sir.
Kevin. Thank you so much for doing this for me. I appreciate it so much.
Thank
You're
you.
actually kicking off a segment of the show I think is going to get pretty popular right here. If anything, we're going to be able to showcase many drummers' different styles and so forth. So, but I want to ask you just a couple of basic questions first, if you don't mind, sir.
Sure.
First of all, you've been playing for how long now?
I started when I was about 12 years old, so almost 50 years.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah.
It really is. And when you first started playing, what was the genre or style of music that really moved you, that you really wanted to play to?
Well, I love rock and roll.
Rock and roll?
Man. Yeah, I started out, probably one of my first albums I bought was the Boston.
Oh, yeah,
More Than a
classic.
Feeling. Yeah. And
Classic.
I would put that on my record player.
Record player!
Put the headphones on and go to it.
Oh, I know that only too well. Oh, me and I fell asleep to Quadrophenia with headphones on. Oh, my goodness.
Another one of my favorites.
Oh, it's an anthem, definitely. So, when you first started drumming, was there any one particular song that you said, oh man, I gotta learn how to play that, man, and you worked on it and tried to play it the best you could? What song was that?
Oh, well, that whole album.
That whole album?
Yeah. I mean, I wanted to
Anything but Boston?
Yeah. And others as well that came along, but that was probably the first one, yeah.
Oh, and that's a great album too, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, he's hearkening back to the era of the '70s, where most of the classic rock that we know nowadays still is alive and well and being played in by bands and bars. Shoot, I've got two grown daughters right now, and they grew up on the '70s music that we introduced to them, and they still play it today. So those were some times, that's for sure. One more question. Since you started playing professionally, give me an idea of what your worst show was.
Worst show.
Worst
Oh,
And what happened to make it a worst show?
okay. I was playing, used to be the Hilton downtown.
Okay.
We were playing at, I think Tickets was the name of the bar.
Okay.
And we were playing there, and we played two Bruce Springsteen songs back when his album came out in
Sure.
probably late 80s, I
Right.
guess.
Yeah.
So I'm singing, and we start the song. I forget which songs they were, two.
Doesn't matter.
Anyway, we start playing one, I start singing the other.
Ah!
Guitar player looks at me, he's playing a different key, you know?
Oh, no.
Different
Oh.
chord progressions and all that. And,
Oh, wow.
they ended up, the keyboard player and the guitar player, because the keyboard player, she would play the bass line on the keyboard, and so it was like having
Right.
a four-piece band. But they ended up switching it up, and it worked out, but man, after
It was
that,
frustrating.
I said, I never want to play that song again. and we scratched that one from the list.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you one bit. I'm going to ask you a drummer question. Speaking to young drummers coming up that are trying to learn percussion and drums and how drums work and so forth, what would you say is the single most important thing for them to keep in mind while they're coming up and learning the drums?
Practice, man. You got to practice. My sister, when I was first learning to play drums, I had my drum pad. I would practice before school, after school. and she would say, "Mom, make him stop, make him stop."
Oh, I got vilified as a kid because at the dinner table I'd pick up a knife and fork and start going to ting, 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 ting. Drove my mother crazy.
Yeah. And my mother would let me play for about an hour once I got a drum set.
Yeah.
She would let me play for about an hour, and
Wow.
she'd say, "That's enough."
That's enough. Yeah, that's about all they can handle.
Yeah, yeah.
Especially at that age, we back in those days, and at that age, we only had one volume. Loud.
But if you love playing drums,
Yeah.
you want to practice.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. Okay, folks, coming towards the end of the show, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to start a beat, and we're going to go back and forth a little bit and see how that goes. Maybe do a couple of short solos, and then we'll end it for the night. So I'm going to start off with something light and easy instead of blasting into a rock beat. Kevin's going to come in, and after a few measures, let him cut loose, and he'll come back to me, and we'll see how that comes out. Ready, Kevin?
I'm ready.
All right. So I can shake your hand and congratulate you. Job well done, my goodness. How was that? Hey, this is just the beginning. He's the first one, but he's not going to be the last one. Make sure you put some comments in here about this man. He deserves it. That's what he put in tonight, okay? Kevin, thank you so much, man. All right, have a good night. All right, folks. What'd you think? It's that time. It's time to wrap up and give you my last final thoughts on things in general. Hope you enjoyed the show. As time progresses and we get a little bit more of a budget, a little bit of support, we'll be upgrading our technology. And then in future shows, you'll see graphics integrated and video clips from live shows that I will be encountering. Part of what I plan on doing with the Beat is I will be out in the field. You'll see me out there, as you have. If you follow me on Facebook and Instagram, you know that it seems like I'm in a new bar almost 2 or 3 times a week, checking out some new talent, covering the band so they get the exposure they deserve in an effort to try to get them more shows and spread the word about live music here in Pensacola, okay? So, my final thoughts are that, first of all, let me just say this. I want to say thank you so much to the people that make this happen. I want to thank D-Lady, my wife, for putting up with me, because I can be a real you-know-what, and she's done a really good job of supporting me. Jack Grimley, Kevin Langan, so many others that pushed me along in this project. And a very, very, very special thank you to the man that's on the other side of the camera that you can't see right now, who is making everything happen technically so I can be out in front and do my thing and be crazy, Mr. Christopher Johnson, Icon CJ. He is the best producer. If you ever need to hire a producer, he's looking for work. So you never know, right? Hey everybody, this is the Beatman telling you, I hope that your days are filled with happiness and love and live music. And remember to always keep the beat. KTB. Later!